Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to another episode of Sree's daily global COVID-19 show. My name is Sree Sreenivasan, and I'm the Marshall Loeb Visiting Professor of Digital Innovation at Stony Brook School of Journalism. Every day, I have the honor to convene this conversation about what's happening around three different crises facing America: the health, financial, and criminal justice crises. We're focusing on specific issues as we try to learn more about all three of these crises. Thank you so much for being here. We're live right now on Facebook, on YouTube, on LinkedIn, and on Twitter. Please find me on these channels and please hit retweet. I'm saying that to my guests as well so that they can share it on their platforms. And please share, please tag a friend, someone in the world who could benefit from this conversation. Please tell us where you're watching from. We want to see and share your stories as well. Today we have a very special show. We have 4 guests. We're going to be joined by Amber Coleman-Mortley and her 4 daughters. We want to make sure that you see this other special episode of their podcast that we want you to watch. It's called Let's Better Create 12 Podcast. And it's bit.ly/mom of all capes to find that. We will give you that address repeatedly throughout the show. And the four guests on our show will be on that show so you can see it. That's a recording and you can watch that. So it's an audio podcast. But tonight you're going to meet them in person, and that's very, very exciting. So first, I want to just say hello to everyone and thank you so much for being here. Thank you for supporting us for 87 straight days. I'm in New York City, and so this is our 87th day of lockdown here on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. How have you been? Tell us what you're seeing, what you're feeling. Did you go out to the protest today? Tell us, and tell us what you've done to be helpful at this time, to take action at this time. And we want to hear your comments, post them, and also you can always email me your feedback, sree@sree.net, sree@sree.net. And you can also find me on Twitter @Sree, and you can find the archive of all my shows on YouTube, youtube.com/Sreenet, SREENET. We want to thank our sponsors, so we're going to take a minute just to do that. First, we want to thank Art & Co. Get involved with the world's largest online art auction, fundraising for COVID-19 victims, artandco.net, your chance to support major charities, as well as 31 artists who are looking to continue their work in the middle of the pandemic. So please check out artandco.net, the world's largest online art auction fundraising for COVID-19 victims. That's out of London, and we'd love for you to share that with your family and friends around the world. We also want to thank our friends at Muckrack Academy for letting me offer this Fundamentals of Social Media free certification course that starts in June. Everybody in the world is able to attend, any age, any background, any experience, but save your seat today, mrac.co/social, mrac.co/social. More than 3,500 people have already reserved their spots. How about you? Please share this right now. Take a photo or take a screenshot and share this with your family and friends. Everybody can benefit. I know how hard it is to understand social media and to keep abreast of all the changes taking place. And I learned a lot putting this together with my colleague, Linda Bernstein, and hope you will also get a chance to participate. So whatever your level, please do sign up. We'll be giving you a chance to learn a lot as we do this. So the course starts in the middle of June, but you reserve your seat today by going to mrac.co/social. Also, a reminder about my company, Digimentors. We offer multiple virtual events, the way to produce your own live web show like this, or a conference. We put together the world's largest conference of teachers. 100,000 teachers were together last Saturday for the T4 conference, and you can learn more about that at t4.education, the largest gathering of teachers in history. and my team put that together. We're so proud. We can be 10% of your production or 110% of your production. Just email me, Sree@Sree.net. And we like to say, don't cancel that conference and don't just make another Zoom meeting. Contact us. And now we're ready for our guests. Are you ready? Make sure. All right, are we ready? Let's warn our guests that they're about to come on camera. We want to make sure that they are ready. They're sitting up straight. They're smiling. I see them. They're all excited in the back. They're making all kinds of gestures, and they were ready to bring them on. So here we go. Please welcome 4 wonderful guests tonight. Hello, everyone.
How are you guys?
Hi. How are you?
We're great. We're great. How are you guys? Good? Yeah, thumbs up. We're great. How about you, Sree?
I'm trying to be not great, at least, good is where we're trying to make it through these days, because there's so much going on. We have so much to talk about. We're going to focus on the issue of race, but I know we're going to talk about so much more because we have these wonderful guests with us. Let me just say hello to everybody. Naima, Amber, Sophia, and Garvey. So hi, everybody. Thank you for being here. You're joining us from the town of Bethesda, Maryland, right outside Washington, D.C. Yep. And you guys have a podcast that I want everybody to listen to. So where can they find that podcast?
You can find it on Spotify.
Yep, you can find us
everywhere.
Like on all of your favorite podcasting platforms, you can find Let's K-12 Better podcast. Please subscribe and like and share with your friends and leave us comments. We love feedback. So
and again, it's called Let's K-12 Better. Let's K-12 Better. And also the Twitter handle is @MomOfAllCapes and @Let's K-12 Better. And we want everyone to continue to tell us where they're watching from. Folks, we're going to do this global tour, which we do every time, where we look at people writing and watching right now from around the world. So tell us, just type in and you can say hello to these ladies as we talk about race and what are the important aspects that we should all know. But first, I just want to start by asking the question I ask everybody about how's the family doing, and I hope everybody's safe. So please go ahead.
Yeah, I guess I'll go first, and then you guys can jump in if you'd like. It's been a really tough week for us, just making sure that we are practicing self-care, that we're not consuming too much media, that we are balancing gratitude with the somberness and heaviness of this moment in history. So it's been a very interesting time for us. I took a little bit of time off just to kind of think about how can I help make things better? So that's kind of where we are. How about you guys? What do you guys think?
Well, I think for me, I've had kind of a good time, but not because of the coronavirus and all that's going on. I've been having a good time because I can spend more time with my family and plug in with my family and together.
Yeah. So we've tried to balance making sure that we are aware of what's happening in the world around us with relaxation and self-care and rejuvenation and also spending time together, bonding as a family.
So that's awesome. I want to make sure that everybody knows who we're with. We're with Naima, Amber, Sophia, and Garvey, and they're going to take your questions. They're going to share, and they're going to talk about lots of different things, including how to talk to kids about race, because that's a topic that's obviously of interest to so many people at the moment. But first, we're going to do our global tour. Are you guys ready for the global tour? We're going to meet people from around the country and across the world. So let's see who's here. And everyone, please tag your friends. You know someone who would benefit from this conversation. So let's go see who's here from around the world. Anand's watching from India, so you could say hi to India. And Emma Humphreys is watching from Southeast Georgia, USA.
Hi, Emma.
Neil says, great topic, watching from Springfield, Virginia, not too far from where you are. And Neil is part of our team. He's an amazing journalist and writer and communicator, but he's also an awesome dad. And we had a show earlier a few days ago where we were able to meet Neil and his 7-year-old daughter. Emily, and they had a conversation about how to talk to kids during COVID-19 and how to get their point of view. So we know that that was a big hit. And so we're glad to be able to revisit some young people here again tonight. And we should say to everybody that my other show that we do will take place tomorrow morning. We have our New York Times Sunday read along where we read the New York Times every Sunday morning. And tomorrow we have 3 fabulous guests who you'll get to talk to. They are, I'm just pulling this off here so that everyone can see, Anya Schifrin, author and former journalist from Columbia University, Holly Lofton, a doctor, and she'll be with us from NYU, and I'll be there from 8:30 to 10:30 a.m. Eastern. We read the New York Times out loud. We've been doing that for 5 years, and we want everybody to be able to join us. Tomorrow morning, 8:30, so you'd have to get up pretty early to do that. The week before, we had another set of great speakers, Sunny Slaughter from Maryland, who is with us. She's an activist and a consultant. Joe Stiglitz was with us, the Nobel laureate, and Mona Abaza, a doctor from Colorado. So we try to do this show every Sunday morning and bring together issues that matter to everyone. So we'd love everyone to get up early, 8:30 a.m. Eastern, less than 11 hours from now, to join us and to be with us. So let's keep doing our tour, see who else is with us right now and joining us. Jonathan Borstein is with us from Union Square in New York. Have these younger ladies been to New York?
Have you guys been?
No.
I've been.
You've been for work.
I've been a lot of times, but these guys not yet. We have to go to the Statue of Liberty.
When you come, when you come up to New York, we'll take you to one of my favorite ice cream stores. Is that okay? Is that all right with mommy? Okay.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. We love ice cream.
Okay. You never know. You always need to check, right? And Beth says hello from Washington State. That's all the way across the country. So Washington to Washington, we're all represented here. And I'm so excited that Judge Rosemary Aquilina is here. And Judge Rosemary Aquilina is the judge who put away Larry Nassar in that USA Gymnastics scandal. And the judge is watching and saying, hello, Judge, thank you for being here. And she says hello to you. Isn't that awesome?
Thank you for coming. Yes.
Yeah. And she was a guest on our show just a few weeks ago. All of these archives, folks, you can find on my youtube.com/SreeNet. And look at this. Arun is watching. He says from Sri Lanka. He's having fun with that by making it SREE instead of SRI. Emma Humphreys has put in a link to your podcast. So there she is. Emma's doing the right thing. And Karen's watching from Massachusetts.
Thank you.
And Gabby Timmis is watching and says, tuning in from Metro Detroit. Look at this. We've got the country represented. Much needed topic, says Pradnya. Hello from Silver Spring, Maryland.
Hey,
How
neighbor.
far are you from where you guys are?
Not far at all. That's awesome.
Yeah. And Dave Burgess says, currently in Hawaii. Glad to be listening in. Thanks for hosting this important topic and for having these awesome guests. We are really cross country and around the world. We're almost made it around. If we get Australia, I think we've gone around the world, but that's pretty cool. Amy Parekh is watching from Bellevue in Washington State. Hi, Amy. Great to have you here. Suravi is watching, says great effort. Sujana Chandrasekhar, Dr. Chandrasekhar, who's been on the show multiple times from New Jersey, is watching and says hello. Alexandria is watching and says, is that someone you know? You want to give a shout out?
Hey, Alex, shout out. We love you. Thanks for coming.
Mark Lee's here. Mark's from Durham, North Carolina, and he was on my show just 3 nights ago where we talked about how to be an ally. And he talked about the importance of everyone working together, African Americans and others, and we learned a lot. And Pradnya says, hey, neighbors, Jennifer Vento is watching from North Jersey. All right. And Lindsay Portnoy says, so grateful to be invited to share space with you all, listening with my kiddos in New York. That's right, everyone.
Yeah,
that's someone who has kids and let them watch with us and learn from these young ladies. That will be awesome. And Pradnya says, women maybe, not ladies. Okay, so let me ask Amber, what is the right wording that I should use?
Women.
What do you guys want?
Women.
Women? All right.
Yes.
All right, women. Okay, young women. Though Carol Ann says, hello, ladies. So,
That's my teacher.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
Awesome.
We share this, everybody. And Alexandria is watching from Florida.
Yeah.
That's great. Philip is watching from North Carolina. Just curious, how old are all of the girls? My daughter is 7. So if you want to.
12, 9, 11.
All right. So we've had 7-year-olds, 9-year-olds, 11 and 12-year-olds. My twins are 17, and they were just your ages yesterday. And look how fast my twins became 17. So we'll keep going here. We've got some more folks tuning in from New York. Jocelyn and Claire says, hello, I'm Maya. I think it's extremely unfair. Racism is still happening. We'll all make it through this. Georgia, USA. Thank you, Maya. And Maya is my daughter's middle name because we love that name. So it's great to see you all. We see to see another Maya here. Mark says, what are the ages? We got that. Jessica says, hello from Minneapolis, watching with my 11-year-old daughter.
Excellent.
And our prayers are with Minneapolis, where all of this particular set of, this episode is focused. But we know that racism is a problem, and the police brutality and the issues around that transcend many, many years and decades and centuries of pain in this country. Daryl's watching from Richmond Hill in Queens, New York. And Manju is watching from India. Liz Ramos from California. Mark Lee says, I learned about race and class at a very young age. My parents started a school in Durham named after Malcolm X when I was 7. So,
that is awesome. All right.
Yeah. Mukadam is watching from Maryland. I love this. So cool. From SNA.
That's awesome.
And Rajendra is watching from New Jersey. Fazil is watching from Sri Lanka. Ganguly says, great work. Mark says, I'm 58 and an uncle, not a dad. Didn't have that luck, unfortunately, but I'm an uncle and father figure to others. Rhonda says, hello from Wisconsin. Libby from Minneapolis. We're thinking of Minneapolis. And love their podcast. Let's K through K-12 better. So that's awesome. Everybody follow that podcast. Subscribe. And watching my friend Amber as I join from Madison, Wisconsin, says David. And Gina is here from New York City. Amber, do you want to tell us who Gina is?
So Gina is the super awesome founder of Gender Avenger, which is this really amazing platform that tallies how representation of gender is in an event, on the media. You can do it anywhere. In your board meeting, it also has a feature who talks. So like you can, time who's talking. Gender Avenger is amazing. Like, I love it. Love it.
And it's genderavenger.com, and everyone should check it out. And
download the app, like use the app because especially when we're in these virtual spaces, we really want to make sure that we are counting who is and is not president of them, because that's a part of it as well.
Absolutely. And so Gina Glantz is the founder of Gender Avenger and just a fabulous force of nature. Gina, thank you for being here, and look forward to having you on my show in the next few weeks. We'd love to talk about all kinds of issues, and we'll be very lucky to have you with us. So let's keep going and see who else is here. Let's see. Akiko says, hello, watching from Hawaii.
Oh my God. Hey, Akiko. Hey, Claire. We haven't seen them in forever. We are just so thankful for you guys for joining the conversation. We love you and miss you. Thank you, guys. This is an important conversation, and we're just glad that you're here.
And folks, if you see your name on screen, grab a screen grab or take a photo and post that on the internet and say, this is like taking a selfie with these 4 women. I almost said ladies, 4 women. And Amy's watching from Rockville, Maryland. And Arun is watching from Sri Lanka and learning every day. And Amy's also in Washington. And Raj says, hello from Pune in India. And about that ice cream, Sri, how about all of us? Ooh, okay. All right. How about this? When these women, come up to New York and I buy them ice cream, you're all invited. All right. We'll have a big ice cream party, and we'll really celebrate the end of at least some of the social distancing and issues around that. Let's keep going. Akiko says, hi, guys. And Daryl says, which ice cream store is that? Love the podcast, says Ajia. Love their podcast so much. And so many people just commenting. And Rose Horowitz is one of our producers. And she's Rose Horowitz 31. Great to join this conversation about talking to kids about race. Great to see a strong mom and her children. Vandana _ Menon and I will be tweeting live. Gail's watching from Maryland. And,
Thank you.
and Gina says Amber is the best, and everyone's saying hi to Amber. You might wonder, why don't we just get started and come back to these comments later? But what happens is, the way the system works is there'll be so many comments, they'll disappear. So I don't want to lose those comments. I am here too with my kids in New York, ages 16 and 19-year-old voters and future voters.
Yes.
Says Miss Joseph Science, maybe. Amy
Yes.
says hi from Fiona. Avril says, thank you for hosting this conversation. Nitin is watching from Dharamshala in India. That's the home of the Dalai Lama.
Wow.
Do our friends know about the Dalai Lama yet?
No, a teeny bit, not as much. We have work to do.
The great leader who has inspired so many people, and we have a comment here about your natural hair and how much they love that, and all the girls and their hair. Can we have that quick conversation, if that's okay, about that topic? Amber, do you want to lead us on a conversation about that?
Yeah, I think, natural hair and Black women, we have historically, I think now we've reached a moment in history where we can walk around as ourselves, and society is like, cool, that's awesome, we accept that, right? For a very long period of time, reaching all the way back to enslavement, your hair was a point of contention, right? And also Black people, a point of survival as well. And also, making your hair do things that it doesn't naturally do just so that you can fit in, which, everyone has their own preference and choice of how they want to present themselves to the world. But the pressure to have to force yourself to do that, I think, is a heavy burden that has been on people with, Black hair. So it's good to be in an era and an age where you can feel like, hey, I washed my hair, I did my hair, and I'm just going to leave it in its natural state and walk around and enjoy myself as me, right? Beautiful. Thank you, commenter who said that. I appreciate it.
And I just want to point out that I have another show that I do. Too many shows. I got kicked out of my house because I have too many live streams going on. One of the shows we do is on WBAI. It's a radio station here in New York, every Saturday from noon to 2 on the radio. I have a call-in show, and our guests today were these two awesome professors, Jamila Michener and Nolaway Rooks. Everybody should follow them on Twitter. Jamila is at Poverty Scholar, and Professor Rooks is at NRookie, N for Nolaway Rookie. And what Jamila said was that she was in a class with Professor Rooks at Princeton, and she was so excited that they had a conversation in class about Black women's hair, and that the person leading that class was a Black woman, and they were able to talk about that in that setting at an Ivy League school. That she'll never forget that, is what she said in that show this morning. And we do that show every single Saturday from noon to 2. It's a radio show. And Amber, you've not lived till you've been on a call-in show in New York, and all kinds of people call in from around the world on the radio. You can imagine it's a lot of fun when they do that. So thank you all for watching, and thank you for being here. We've got lots of great comments and questions coming in, and we're just going to do a few more of these and then go right to the rest of the questions. Let me just put these women on screen so that we can see them. And Akshadeep's watching from Mumbai in India. Sony is watching from Raleigh, North Carolina. Alice is watching from Bethesda, Maryland. I have mixed race kids, and our differences only make us stronger. I'm sorry we're living with systemic racism, and I'm hopeful that change is happening. And Rose says, hi, Gina. Gender Avenger is amazing, Amber says, and they're tweeting and sharing. Gia says, it's so important that students hear these issues discussed by their peers. I'm so proud. And Melanie says, way to go, Garrett Parkers.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Miss Backrack.
Yay. Hey, Miss Backrack. How are you?
So what is Garrett Parkers, and who's Melanie Backrack?
That's next year, since I'm going to middle school, that's my little sister's assistant principal. Garrett Park is the school. That's the elementary school, like down the street from where we live almost.
Nice.
Pretty awesome.
Jen Rydell at Civics Girl here. Love you, Amber and Co. Thanks for doing this, and you're using your voices. And we have people, oh my, I really want to get going, but look at this. Hi from Granny in Florida, Jessica.
Hey!
Who is that? Tell us.
That's my mom. She is my first teacher. My mom is a lifelong educator of like 20-something years. And, you know, a lot of what I've learned about how to work with children, how to talk to children, how to love children was from watching my mom be a teacher and then also having my mom as my mom that's also a teacher. So a lot of my pedagogical like thoughts and ideas and practice comes from actually just being around her and absorbing everything that she emits. So.
And where is she in Florida?
She's in Florida, yeah.
Which town?
They are in what? Tallahassee or something? Yeah.
Tallahassee. Okay. And Gail says, so first of all, hello, Granny, and we're so grateful you're here. And Granny has her own YouTube account. That's pretty cool.
Shout out to Granny. Subscribe to her YouTube. What?
And Gail says, what an awesome group of young women.
Thank you so much, Aunt Gail. Thank you.
And Mark says, and then we can bring them down to Durham, to Luke Hoops and the Parlor, great ice cream local places. So sounds like you guys will need to do a world tour of ice cream places.
Yes.
Strong moms raise leaders, and that's praise to both you, Amber, and to your mom. And Amanda's watching from SoCal. Alex says, hi, Amber. And so many people here. It's amazing. Nitesh is watching from Patna in India. Wow. And Sebastian Lopez says hello. And Jessica says natural hair since high school.
Yeah.
Mr. Joe says hello. I'm from Egypt. Wow.
Oh, really? Hi. That's awesome.
That is so cool. Kelly says hello, ladies. Sharing your podcast with everyone. Kelly from Michigan. And Lindsay Portnoy and I are on the school board. And what you just said about talking to someone is so important. Mr. Joe says, best thing about Egypt is we have no racism. Everyone here is treated equally. Both blacks and whites get abused and beaten. So he was making a very, he was being sarcastic. We want to make sure the girls understand that there is, in fact, racism in many, many countries, most places, unfortunately. And Ms. Joseph says, that what you just said about talking to someone about race made me think of students who don't have teachers who look like them and don't have the way to learn. So we have work to do, she says, and that's really, really important. And Mr. Joe says, love you, Black Lives Matter. So you guys have fans in Egypt, which is great. And Daryl's posted a link to my WBAI show today. And you are honoring her well, says Jen, about Granny.
Thank you.
And they have a link to Mom of All Capes, and I want to tell everyone the name of how she got that name, because Superman and Superwoman and all those superheroes wear capes, and moms are superheroes, and moms wear capes. So she's like a Jack or Jane of all trades, and so she's a mom of all capes. I love that name, and I'm so glad that you were able to share that with us. And so proud of our Summers friends showing up. And my kids are so excited to see their Nana, Nancy Hoffman-Blau, watching along. Amber Coleman-Mortley, you're making such a difference. And Scott says he's watching from NorCal. And racism is wrong, says Claire. Love is right. Lulu, almost 8 from Georgia. That's beautiful. Lulu said that. That's great. And Jen says truth. Okay, there are just too many comments. We got to get right to the questions. Otherwise, this entire show will be just introductions to all of you.
We feel the love.
Yes, and if you're tuning in, folks, we do this every day, mostly at 9 p.m. Eastern. Sunday night, we do a big show. Please be with us on Sunday night. And we have other shows coming down the pike. Please subscribe, youtube.com/SreeNet. And please send us suggestions for future speakers, themes, Sree@Sree.net, SREE@SREE.net. Okay, coming now to these ladies drinking water. Always important to hydrate. So I'm glad that you're doing that. That was Neema taking a drink. Amber's with the well, I was going to say pearls. What are those? What are you wearing?
Like heavy stones. I haven't figured out. I bought them when I was in Ethiopia. And so I don't exactly know what they are, but they mean something because of my trip that I took with a bunch of friends.
Wonderful. And Sophia, and then Garvey on the right. The necklace you're wearing matches Garvey's outfit, so that's perfect. So first of all, you're a superhero because you're raising 3 kids. that must be its own adventure. But tell us about these girls and what's so special about them.
Yeah. So, I obviously am a mom. My husband and I, we co-parent these kids. I think we're great parents. We spend a lot of time focusing on school, right? Because education is an absolutely necessary part of surviving in the world and like making something of yourself and just improving your circumstances. So that has been ingrained in me since my grandparents and before. So, you guys know the importance of education. They're also athletes. So, some of us play lacrosse and some of us dance. And so that's great. And art, I try to make sure that, these guys get a wide variety of activities, and then also lots of conversation, right? So like, what else do we want to share? What else about you guys that makes you awesome?
Well, we have an awesome mom.
Okay, great.
Oh.
Yes, we do have awesome parents. What else? Anything else you want to share? I think we have a great support network of just really great friends and community members also. And there just are a lot of great men and women that they can look up to and that we have as resources to just help us out when it's like, I don't know something. I can go to someone to get that information. So it takes a village and it's really awesome.
And we see the love and the support you have from people watching all over the world. Here again is Mr. Joe from Egypt. God bless you all, beautiful people. Just great to see all these comments coming in. Fort Worth, Texas is in the house. Kathy Heat says hello. And Emma says hi to Lulu. And just so many comments coming in. And this person says, hi, I'm from India. How is everyone? How are you? And Mark says, art is so vital to developing critical thinking. So we'd love to hear about some of the extracurriculars that these girls do.
For me personally, I do a lot of drawing and writing, but I also get outside a lot and do like athletics. I also do logic, and sometimes I just like to do math.
Yeah. How about you?
Well, kind of like
speak up so they can hear you.
Kind of like how she said, I kind of like to dance, and like when there's music on, I just like to move around and so
How about you?
I like to make funny videos and make funny photos and stuff in the free time.
Yeah. So lots of creative energy here. Lots of art projects, lots of video projects, lots of digital media projects. I think that's kind of like why we have the podcast as well. Just because we wanted to be able to express ourselves in very creative ways. These guys are learning those skills, right? Eventually, they're going to end up writing their own episode and sound editing their own episode. So the podcast, though it's very informative, hopefully, for people, is also a project-based learning experience for these guys, so that they can leave out of this pandemic with some hands-on experiences.
And that is very important and useful. So what we're going to do right now is show everybody the podcast and encourage everybody to sign up for it. They can get it wherever they get their favorite podcast. It's called Let's K-12 Better. And this particular episode is Let's Talk About Race. Let's just see how easy it is to find this. So once you go to your Spotify or Google Podcasts or Apple Podcasts, it's the most recent episode, so it's easy to find. But look at some of these other topics. Safe summer surfing on the web. Is it safe to go outside? Let's teach civics. And 8,100 minutes, keeping it in perspective. What is that title?
So do you want to talk about it? Okay. So
I remember.
All right.
So we were like, it was like a normal day. We were all like sitting around together. And basically, my sister needed, Garvey needed help with math because the teachers weren't like giving her enough time in class to explain because it's online distance learning classes. So there's not really a chance because it's like one class like a week,
right?
2 classes a week.
I'm gonna keep adding on to it. So my mom and I, after we were figuring out, after my teacher emailed my mom I didn't turn something in or something like that. My mom I kind of got upset. I was like, oh my gosh, it's gonna go on forever, something like that. And so my mom was like, it's okay because all this time, like for the first 2 weeks of coronavirus, and like we had a break for 2 weeks, but it wasn't actual learning. It was kind of just like stuff that the teacher wasn't going to grade. So it was kind of just stuff to keep you busy. We missed 2 whole weeks of actual learning that we could have used. So technically, later on, my mom made some calculations, and we found out that we missed like a lot of time. 1,800 minutes.
8,100 minutes. So, we kind of did I did a huge calculation, and we run through it in the podcast, just about like distance learning is very tough. It's tough for our teachers right now, because they're really, and I think honestly, educators have like crushed it. Like a lot of them have been thrown this crazy circumstance, and they have literally just knocked it out of the park. So I really want to applaud educators. But students are still missing a lot of time by not being in the class, not being able to, raise their hand, and get that feedback right away. There's a barrier because we're here on Zoom, right? So, we did a calculation and we realized that we missed 8,100 minutes of instructional time. And, I was trying to help my daughters to keep in perspective that if you're not succeeding like you normally would, these are not normal times. And so we need to readjust what our expectations of success are based on the situation that we've been given, and have a positive attitude about it.
Take a look at the podcast, and we're going to go to the particular episode, which is the latest one. It's called Talking to Kids About Race. How did you decide to approach this topic? And set that up for us, and we'll play the first few minutes.
Go ahead.
So I think what we thought about like how that inspired us to do this was like all that's going on with Ahmaud Arbery and Floyd. I think that's right.
And Breonna Taylor, and Christians and Amy Cooper, that situation. And so, when all of that was going down, we released like a 7-minute episode just to say that we stand in solidarity, and we acknowledge that a lot of people around us are hurting, ourselves included. So then the follow-up episode, we decided to, talk about what is happening in the world, and then also what is the solution? The solution for us is to have, Black families, non-Black families of color, white families have discussions about race as a family, right? Like we can no longer ignore that this issue, we can no longer ignore how it's impacting people in a variety of ways. And so that's why we released this episode. And then we also had a family discussion to kind of model, like, what does it look like for a family to have a discussion on race? Now, we centering our, who we are a Black family, right? So it'll be a little bit different for each family, right? And our perspective is different. But we're just one example of hopefully many that will happen over the course of, eternity until we solve this issue about race in America, or the world, actually.
All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to play a couple of minutes, and that means you folks are going to be off camera and your mics are going to be off. So if you want to make some noise and just relax and dance party, whatever you want to do, you're welcome to do. I'm not going to make you sit there and watch you listen to the show. So we're going to give you a couple of minutes off. Is that okay?
Perfect.
So think of this as an ad where we're listening to your voices. So we'll play about the first 2-3 minutes. Is that okay, Amber?
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. And if you want, you can fast forward a bit past the intro so that people can get the meat of it, because we don't jump right in.
So we'll play the intro, and then we'll fast forward a couple of minutes, and then we'll listen, and then you'll come back. I'll give you a warning when I bring you back on, okay? So that if you guys are dancing too much, we'll know that that's coming back. All right, so here we go. Just set this up for us, Amber. Tell us what we're going to hear, and remind us again where we can find and sign up for this, and all the hashtags. Give us everything.
Yeah, so this is the intro to our show. Garvey actually produced the music. So she's the music producer for all of our music on the podcast. And so you're going to hear that at the beginning. You're going to hear Sophia giving the welcome, and then each one of them gives a bit of the intro. This podcast, again, you can find it on all of the platforms out there that you love to listen to podcasts on. And then obviously follow us at Let's K-12 Better. But we hope that you guys enjoy this little preview.
Great. And here's what it says. We do not have all the answers, and neither will you. In this episode, we share very few simple strategies to prepare adults to have meaningful conversations with their kids. Talking to your kids about race is the first step in a very long journey of work that's required of each of us. Okay, I'm fired up and ready. So here we go. And we're going to say goodbye to you for just a few minutes, and we'll bring you back. Okay, folks, get ready to hear this first episode, or the first minutes of this episode of Talking to Kids About Race. Okay, we are going to try that again. And if that didn't work, I'll have to pull it up on my Spotify, but let's just see if I can do that, and we'll play that here. 1 second. I'm just going to open up on Spotify. Sorry, folks. I should have checked this. My fault. Let's K-12 Better. And here we go.
Hi, and welcome to the Let's K-12 Better podcast. This podcast is a project between Mom of All Capes and her kids. Hi! In our podcast, we will cover a variety of subjects involving K-12 education and family life. We will talk about the ways that parents, kids, and educators can improve K-12 education and family life. We encourage you to join our conversation on social media using the hashtag Let's K-12 Better. Let's jump into episode 7 of the Let's K-12 Better podcast.
Capacity for compassion and responsiveness to another human experience. We need to simplify our desires to improve race relations by establishing race as a pillar of social emotional learning in our homes, our schools, and in our communities. When we talk to any kid about race, the goal is to equip them with the tools to acknowledge and respect differences, connect with others on equal footing, and exercise the courage to address injustice when we see it. Very simply put, don't be colorblind, don't be a savior, and don't be a coward when you see that someone of a different race is being treated unfairly. Do engage in the hard work, awkwardness, and discomfort of interpersonal relationship building. Standing in solidarity does not require you to fully understand everything someone is going through. Your goal is not to become an expert on race in America or the world. Your objective is to get kids to think critically about injustice and think bigger than just themselves. We should want our children to grapple with questions like,
in what ways do different people experience society as it is constructed today? How do we make it better? Is the range of human experiences fair, just, equal, or equitable? Why or why not? Who is not here right now? Who's not part of the group? Am I making choices that will prevent or exclude another person from a quality life experience? What is my commitment to improving life for people near and far that are experiencing pain in their life?
You've got a long road ahead. So here are a few very simple strategies to prepare adults to have meaningful conversations with their kids.
Approach discussions about race with impact in mind.
Think, what do I want to come out of this conversation that is actionable? Action is possible for a child of any age. The younger the child, the more you want to focus that child's thought process on how to build community, be less selfish, and create inclusive spaces. Once you've laid that foundation, you can begin to tackle more complex issues of injustice and racism.
Become an avid reader of a range of perspectives on race and culture, allowing Black and non-Black people of color to speak for themselves.
The easiest way to talk about race with kids is to expose our kids to other people's triumphs and challenges. Find narratives that breathe life into the variety of perspectives available in cultures and communities that are not your own. When we have a catalog of what is possible, we begin to dissolve our assumptions about who people are.
Center the voices of others.
Again, at its core, improving race relations is all about building our empathy muscle. Show kids that their perspective isn't the only important voice in the room, and that stepping aside and empowering others does not take away from their own power. When we decentralize how we feel, what we believe, what we value, we give space in our minds and in our hearts to actually listen to others, their perspectives, and their challenges. Talking to your kids about race is the first step in a long journey of work that is required of each of us. Some of this work needs to be done in the home, some of it at school. Some work must be done in our own racial groups, and some work must be done collaboratively across cultures and divides. All of this work is necessary. All right, so we're going to move into the family discussion about race. We do want to say that we don't want anyone to assume.
Okay, folks, so we are now going to go directly back live with our guests who were the stars of that podcast. So I think we're ready for them. Are they ready for us? Are they ready? Okay, they're ready. Is the world ready? Here we go. We are now coming back to our guests, and they are going to say hello to us and bring them back. Hello.
All right,
Hello.
there we go. Hi.
Welcome back. What was it like to hear your own voices like that?
Well, it was kind of, even though we said it, for me to hear my voice on like a podcast or recorded, it kind of feels inspirational to keep doing it.
Okay.
Nice.
For me, it kind of feels kind of weird because I'm used to like just sitting down at the table with our microphones and everything, making the podcast, but sometimes we don't really sit down together and like listen to the podcast per se. So it's kind of weird hearing our own voices, like we're listening to music. Like she said, it's weird to hear your own voice.
I listen to it over and over again to analyze where the issues are. So I'm like, oh yeah, that's where that part was.
And one of the questions that came up is to tell us the names and each of their names. What is the meaning of their names?
So my name, I don't know what really has the meaning of.
Who are you named after?
I'm named after Marcus Garvey.
Yes.
So
wait, there are a lot of people around the world, Garvey, who don't know Marcus Garvey. So would you tell us a little about him?
He's a Jamaican activist.
Yes, and he's the leader of the. Oh my God! See now, my card is taken. Like my mind went blank. Oh my God! Well, he was definitely a leader of a movement where he encouraged Black people to travel and relocate back to Africa, because at the time, race relations in America, in the Caribbean, and in South America were absolutely much worse than they are right now. So he said, if it's really bad here, let's all migrate and go back home.
Yes, he was a Pan-Africanist, as they say. And at one point, he declared himself the provisional president of Africa.
Yes.
And you can do that if you're fighting oppression and you are trying to help your people. That's what leaders do, right? So let's get Sophia's story.
I don't really know what my name is, but it's just the very.
Her middle name is Toussaint, after Toussaint Louverture, who was the liberator of the island nation of Haiti. So.
Very nice. Okay.
So my first name is me. I don't know what it means per se, but it's named after the jazz song Naima by John Coltrane, who was a jazz musician. And my middle name is Ture, but I'm not even sure what that means.
It's after Kwame Ture, who is also Stokely Carmichael, who is also another Caribbean liberationist, right? So I am an African American Studies major. I studied African American Studies in undergraduate school at Oberlin College. And so, I had to read a lot of very interesting and different ideas that I didn't get in school. History class didn't cover a lot of these awesome, interesting topics that are considered, ethnic studies, right? They weren't woven into it. And so when I heard a few things, I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's cool. And so I decided to just kind of pay homage by naming my daughters after different people.
That's very cool. And just tell us where did you grow up and where did you study? Where are all the places you went to school?
Yeah. So I grew up in Northeast Ohio in a small suburb, Maple Heights. What? Shout out to anyone who is from outside of Cleveland. I went to Oberlin College, and again, I studied African American Studies. I was a 3-sport athlete there, a 3-sport varsity athlete there. And then I went on to American University and I studied media entrepreneurship. And so figuring out how do you make media work in a landscape that is dying in some ways, right? And now it's totally different. Media has evolved since I've left that program. It was really amazing because I kind of zeroed in on how do moms, consume media and how are moms impacted by things. And so I became super passionate about mom blogging at American.
That's great. I would just want to point out that just this week I had another guest from Oberlin on my show. This is Professor Keiji Fukuda, who is the former deputy director of both the WHO and CDC, and he now runs a public health school in the University of Hong Kong. And he's from Oberlin and just had lots of great information for us. And we want to make sure that I'll connect you guys as alumni. I know you would have lots to talk about. And one of our family friends' daughter is there as well. And I know it's a great school. My friend Norm went to Oberlin as well. Let's see who else is saying hello. Suleiman says hello. And Viji says hello. Great podcast. And Mark says my podcast has created a network called the Next Level Podcast Network. We'd love to feature your podcast.
Yes, let's get together, Mark. Cool.
And Mary Rose says, this is wonderful. Build your empathy muscles. Yes. Absolutely. Center the voices of others. So these are you're sharing your ideas. Giving space to others, so good. And Jessica says, what shared family reads would you recommend for middle-aged kids also, but middle school-aged kids? So middle-aged kids, sorry.
No, I definitely recommend reading. There are 2 books that come to mind right now that are super poignant for this moment. One is The Hate U Give. So these 2 have read The Hate U Give. I think it's amazing because it's about police brutality, and a young woman in the story, who's the main character, is dealing with police brutality, but she also goes to a prep school where the incident occurred. And so her white friends at the prep school don't really have empathy for what she experienced. They have their own, opinions about it. And then she goes back to her neighborhood and people are in pain. And so she's experiencing that and protesting. And so there are 2 different worlds that she's straddling and trying to figure it out. So I definitely recommend The Hate U Give. I also recommend Ghost Boys, right? That's another one that deals with gun violence. She's read that book and we've talked about it. What's something from Ghost Boys that you were like, yes, that was awesome, or that was that opened my eyes?
Something that
nice and loud.
Something that was yes for me was that. So I mean, the book was really inspiring, kind of because
yeah.
Okay, so one of the parts that was there's 2 parts for me that were really oh my gosh. The first part was when I'm not gonna spoil the whole book because if anything, I don't know. But his friend gave him a toy gun. It wasn't real, but a toy gun because he was dealing with bullies at his school. and he gave him a toy gun so that he could scare off the bullies. But then later after school, like he didn't feel comfortable with the toy gun because he didn't know what his parents would say, stuff like that. So he went home, and while he was walking home, a police officer saw him with the toy gun, thought it was a real gun, and shot him. Um, and then another thing that was like, oh my gosh, was when he died, all his family was like, oh my gosh, he's dead, you know. But he really was a ghost, and he could see all the pain his family was going through and stuff like that.
So, stories like these deal with issues of race. They deal with issues of gun violence. They deal with issues of police brutality, right? In a variety of ways. And I think it's just really important to read these kinds of narratives and then also have discussions with your kids about, like, what did you read, right? Right now during COVID-19 shelter in place, like, they have their schoolwork, they do their schoolwork, they do their school reading, and then we do extra reading, and we have family discussions or one-on-one discussions about, like, tell me what you read in this chapter, like, why is it so, how do you relate to it, or if you were in this character's position, like, how would you react, right? And that brings forth critical thinking in your child, and it also brings forth interesting conversations between you and your kid.
Okay, let's. I just want to say, could we adjust the camera a little bit?
Yeah, sorry, we're like family.
Yeah, we can just get that.
We're like,
Thank you. Let's keep going and seeing what are the other comments saying here. Gabby says, it's so awesome to hear from her and her amazing little women. And Paula's from Tallahassee. Let's tell Paula our Tallahassee connection, girls.
Yeah, who's in Tallahassee?
Auntie Alex.
Yeah.
And Granny.
Yeah, we have family in Tallahassee. So this is so awesome. Hi, how are you?
Greetings, Amber. Your young women are doing a great job, says Haweda. And Rose has been tweeting. Everyone follow her on Twitter. She's Rose Horowitz 31. And Laura Silverman says, hello from Philadelphia. Big fan of Mom of All Capes and her fab family.
Thank you.
That is so cool. Well, one of the things that I want to show people is, first of all, that Laura Silverman is awesome, and she is always tweeting and doing great work. So everybody should follow Laura. And I want to show you some of the things that she's been posting and get your reaction also to it. So let's go in and take a look at Laura's Twitter feed because I'm thinking of Philly today. And so she's been compiling anti-racist resources at We Can, I Can't, learning about racism is a privilege, Black Lives Matter, and justice for George Floyd. And so everyone, please follow Laura Silv 6 at Laura Silv 6 and send her your resources so that she can continue to help a lot of people by sharing good content like that. I also wanted to show folks what I posted today from this. I found this on the web. Just seeing this crowd in Philadelphia. Just look at the images here. I'm going to turn down the volume. But just look at this. What do you think? Have the girls seen this video? The protest today?
We've watched protest videos on Snapchat. So
Videos
we've watched
like this.
we watched videos like this as well on other social media. But yeah, that's a lot of people that showed up in solidarity.
From far away, it looks like glitter.
Yeah, from far away, it does look like glitter. What do you think about like all these people coming together in this moment? That's a lot.
Well, first, I think it's really like empowering to see all the people coming together to protest, to say, hey, this isn't right, so we should all protest for it to show justice. But I also kind of think it's unsafe since it's still coronavirus. But besides that, it's still good to see people coming together to raise awareness.
I would like to add on to Garvey. Yes, it's kind of dangerous that people are out even when it's coronavirus. But there was this one video where this lady was handing out free masks to everyone to say, hey, even though protesting is still good to be safe. And also, I think it's nice that they're protesting not just for themselves but other people.
Absolutely.
I think that it's really cool, and this, like, the stuff that is happening is like making this like probably going to be the most memorable part of this next coming decade. And I also think it's awesome that this many people have banded together, regardless of what race, to honor George Floyd and Mama Arby, and Breonna Taylor, ECT, and like stand up for this cause.
Yeah. And I think, for as a parent, I really encourage other parents to, get on social media with their kids and take a look at these images. Now, yes, there are images of violence and destruction, but again, you have to allow your children the space and opportunity to be critical
And
thinkers
trust.
and trust. Yes, and trust. Because you want them to formulate their own opinions about things, right? Like, we are old, we're grown, we're adults, we're crusty, we have our own opinions about stuff. We want to make sure that we are giving our kids the space to analyze life, to insert themselves with empathy, looking at life from someone else's viewpoint. That's why I really enjoyed going on Snapchat, because it was one person's point of view, and we looked at across the country. We looked from DC all the way to California. We looked in other countries, and we said, what were some similarities? What were some differences that we noticed when we looked at these protests? What were some beautiful things that you saw? What were some things that troubled you, right? And then just giving them the space to talk about that without me placing any judgment on what's happening, right? I think kids can work their way to their own morality with a little coaxing, but we still need to make sure we provide the space for critical thinking.
Thank you for sharing that. Laura says, so proud of Philadelphia and the awesome peaceful gathering in 90-degree weather. Jessica says, yes, Oberlin. And that's great. Rose says, recommended books for kids about race and police brutality by Amber. And she listed The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. Sony Abraham says, such an important conversation to have with children about race in America. We can no longer hide from reality and hope that people and race relations will get better. These conversations are uncomfortable, but lack of comfort means that we're on the threshold of new insights. That's beautiful. Ved says hi, and Jessica says they attended the first Women's March.
Yes.
So that was 3 years ago now, the first Women's March, and here we're seeing a lot more comments coming in as well. So let me ask you, first of all, when's bedtime?
Never. So it's COVID-19 shelter in place. So I actually am a very metered and very ordered individual. So during the school year, bedtime is 8:30, right? After practice, you shower, you've had your dinner on the way to practice. Oh yeah, 9:30. Yeah, my bad, 9:30. So lunch, dinner, practice, homework, and then bedtime, right? After a few video games, maybe. But now, I just feel a little bit more free range, and that eases the tension and the stress of this moment, and the anxiety of this moment. Because even though they're sheltered within these four walls, and I've tried to create beautiful, calming experiences for them, the world is still happening, and they still are going to get a little bit of that. So I've become a little bit more lax. But once the school year starts and we go back into a school building, bedtime's 9:30 again.
Hedrich says, greetings from Texas. Y'all are my role models. So that's she has a master's in education. I could see that right there. And Karen Washington says, yes, if you give kids structured space, they really surprise you. Hedrick says, here for some healing. My son just experienced a skating while black incident. So glad to see this positivity. So there is this thing that people face in this country that is so difficult for people to understand. And look at this. Vandana says, she's one of my producers, I loved your Cardi B coronavirus TikTok.
Thank you.
What was that?
Thank you. So again, another family project. As soon as COVID-19 shelter in place came to pass and we were kind of stuck in here with each other, we were trying to figure out what are some fun, interesting ways that we can pass the time, because we had no clue in March, right, how long this would be or what to do. And so we, Cardi B is a celebrity who,
she's our role model.
No, she's
No,
not.
she's
But we love her. But we still love her. So she had a soundbite, and then a producer turned that soundbite into this really amazing song. And so we're like, let's make a dance to remind people how to stay safe during, but in a fun way. And so we had a dance challenge. We
still
encourage
have
people
the
to do it.
blueprints on the board.
Yeah, we still do have all of the dance.
All right, here it is. Shall we play it?
Everybody, make sure you shower regularly. You got make sure you wash it in regularly. And fight the virus. So, we're trying to help people understand in a fun way, though. In a fun way.
Did you? I was watching that video and stuck there. Was it showing here?
Yes, it was.
Okay, good. And was Garvey hiding? Was that what was going on? So they can find that on Mom of All Capes, or if you search Mom of All Capes in TikTok, you can find that. Lindsay says, thank you for modeling how possible and essential these conversations are with our children, as Amber shares, making space without judgment. Really cool. Kelly says, thank you for all your suggestions. Fabulous work from your little women. Neil says that TikTok was great. One of the things, Amber, that's complicated is even though TikTok gives you permission for that music, right? They've licensed that music and you were able to play it on Twitter and Instagram, etc. Yeah. When I put it on the air on YouTube and Facebook, sometimes they block the video because it's not cleared for these channels. So so that might happen if this disappears. Yeah, if this disappears, you'll know that's why. Emma's giving you a shout out, Mom of All Capes. Again, if you missed the reason why, it's because superheroes are like moms, or moms are like superheroes, and superheroes wear capes, and she's a mom of all capes. And Laura says, love all that creativity and energy, and we want everybody to go watch that TikTok and wash those hands and all of that. There was also something in there about praying. I saw that.
Yes, like you gotta say prayer, right? Like, and if you don't pray, meditate, right? Like, but you definitely want to be thankful and have some gratitude in this moment. Right.
Naima was just going to show us those some of those hand gestures. Just show us some of the hand gestures. Go ahead. Oh, there you go. Okay.
Wipe your table.
Sophia's got it. Okay, go ahead.
Body, cover your cough, which is kind of like a tab. You have to roll and pray and give it to God or meditate, whatever. There's one that's like this. I forget what it's called though. Wash your body. Take a shower.
Take a shower.
Yeah. Yeah, we want everyone to take a shower, right? For sure. That's important.
For sure.
Take a bath, have a shower.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah.
So just before we let you go, we've got still comments coming in. I just want to show them to you. Alexandria says, watching the protests is important. Kids need to stay abreast of the issues. What age is too young to start the conversation of race with your children?
No age is too young.
Right, absolutely. So, go ahead.
When they're old enough to know that they're this certain race or ethnicity, or even if they start school, like, it's still good. Even if, like, you have a high school or middle school, even though we touched this in the podcast, you're not too young or too old to still learn about it.
Right. And it's absolutely, I feel like there's certain age appropriate things, right? So when you talk with a kindergartner about race or, lower elementary, you want to talk about empathy, right? You want to talk about building community. You want to talk about respect, right? Right. You want to talk about differences, right? You don't want to say, like, if you're a white parent, right, and your child is a friend with a black child, you don't want to tell that kid to not say that kid is black, right? Like, that kid is black and it's a fact, right? So, like, you want to acknowledge differences and allow your lower elementary school kids to acknowledge differences,
not make fun of them.
To not make fun of people, to ask questions, right? And then to seek information when you don't have the answer to that question. With middle and high school age kids talking about race, you can, they're sophisticated enough, as you can see from our podcast, to have these really deep, engaging discussions about the impact of race on a variety of topics, whether it's economics or education or, your identity at school. Garvey brought up an excellent point about smartphones. Do you want to share that?
I said that if your kid has a smartphone and you haven't talked about race, it's kind of disappointing because they probably, if they have TikTok or social media, and a lot of those apps have really racial or sometimes racist topics and stuff like that. So you're not there with them as you're scrolling through the app. So if you talk about race beforehand, they already know what they're to expect before they see it and not be surprised or you're not there.
Right. And so because social media is a factor, especially in this world, and if you think about cyberbullying, now add a racial element on top of that, right? Like that just that makes the issue even greater. So it's just really important as parents that you, one, talk about race with your kids, no matter what age they are. Talk about race as it relates to the digital content that you're consuming, and also like how do you behave yourself in a group chat, right? Like, let's say you're in a group chat with friends and a friend sends a racist meme. Like, how do you handle that, right? Like, should you call it out? Should you, tell your parent? So there's a variety of different ways that race touches it's going to touch your child's life that you might not know about that has already happened. So I would say if you haven't had the discussion yet, you definitely need to start having this discussion today.
Got it. One of the things that I want to just, hold on. Sorry, the comments are still coming. You guys are so popular. I'm just so impressed with this. Mark says, truly amazing young leaders. Who are some of the folks you admire?
I think some of the people that we admire, me personally, I kind of admire Cardi B and Beyonce because they're really inspiring.
Okay, all right. Who do you admire? She's a hot mess. Who do you admire?
I don't know. Come back.
Okay, we'll come back to you. How about you? Oh, thank you. Okay, I'm up there with Beyonce and Cardi B, so I guess I can't. Well, we do definitely expose ourselves, Mark, to women leaders. Hey, Nicole. We expose ourselves to women leaders throughout history. So you'll notice, like every podcast episode, or just about every podcast episode, there are quotes that these guys go on the internet to find. So they search for quotes and they read about the women. So Dorothy Height was one at one time. Oprah obviously was one for somebody. Gail was one. Right, which was awesome. So we definitely try to expose ourselves to powerful women and their thoughts and their ideas about, how do I stay motivated? What is hard work to me? How do I define that? What is collaboration with others? And a variety of other important issues and topics. So, hopefully that's staying in their brain too.
No, that's awesome. There are some more comments that are coming in. Patricia says, awesome that you're raising such aware little ladies.
Daddy.
Hope these times result in much more of this. And Neil says, hopefully the worst that will happen is that the music will be muted. It shouldn't take down the whole video, though, we hope. And then Neil says, I'm sorry I missed the middle. Was putting my daughter to bed. Did you have the talk with your women? At what ages are all three at the same time about what it's like? The talk, as we know, for people watching around the world, in this context, the talk is about how to deal with the police, how to conduct yourself if you are stopped. What ages, have you had the talk yet? And if you can talk about that, Amber.
Yeah, so I think our everyday is a version of the talk, right? So every day, and I don't want to make it seem like we're talking about being Black every day in our house, that's a ridiculous statement, but every day we talk about some way in which society has impacted us, right? And how it impacts people that look like us. So, we definitely talk about police brutality. We've talked about it. We've talked about systematic racism, right? And how privileges that all of us have. We all have a variety of privileges and how those touch onto society in a variety of ways, right? Like, and access to resources. We talk about educational equity a lot because, you know, we are very fortunate to go to, you know, schools that are awesome and teachers that love us, right? But how do we use our privilege to then fight for and empower other people? So yes, Neil, we have had to talk. We talk every single day because it is just really important for them to live the talk, right? Like, how do I get a job or follow my passion so that I can make change in society now and in the future?
Thank you. 2T Boy says, hello, future queens. I don't know, future already queens, right? I think. What age does it become queen versus, you know, princess or ruler, right?
From the beginning, right?
Yeah, already queens. Okay, we like that. I want to ask all of you to give a shout out. I'm going to come to each of you, and you're going to give you a chance to shout out anyone you like, family, friends, teachers, anyone who inspires you. We're going to start with Naima, and we're just going to go down the row. So, okay, Naima, you want to start?
Shout out to Miss Caroline Wheeler and Miss Melanie Backrack because they.
Sorry, you got to slow down and speak up. I'm old, so you got to speak up. It's be slow, okay?
Shout out to Miss Caroline Wheeler and Miss Melanie Backrack because they've been working really hard this year during social distance learning to make sure we've had a comfortable distance learning fourth quarter. And even though I'm going to miss my fifth grade promotion, they're like trying their best to make it seem like we're gonna have, like, not seem like we're gonna have one, but to put something special together for us.
Awesome. Well, you skipped over me, but all right, go ahead. I'll go last. No, you can go.
So someone I want to shout out to Nicole Balva, our cousin, because she's an awesome person and she tries to make everything feel better.
Oh, that's so nice.
I want to shout out to everyone watching because they took time out of their day to stop and watch it and listen to us talking about, like, you know, questions you're asking us and stuff like that.
Awesome. I guess my shout out, I guess piggybacking on my kid, is like shout out to everyone listening, but also shout out to our family and friends who, again, like they provide an amazing network for us to thrive, right? Family, friends, coworkers, you know, anyone who is like a part of my squad. I just thoroughly appreciate how open so many people are to improving their anti-racist journey, right? And like going on that journey, whether it's like a white person, a non-Black person of color, and even a Black person thinking, you know, Amber is this to me and I really appreciate her and I'm gonna go on my journey with her, alongside her. And so I just want to shout out to everyone who's marching with us toward being an anti-racist society.
Anti-racist. So you're saying it's not just enough to be not racist,
right?
Anti-racist. I think that's really good. Would you, if it's okay for just a couple more minutes, we want everyone to say goodbye to these women. I almost said ladies again. But one of the things we've been doing on the show is that we had a few days ago on my WBAI show, we had Kimberly Crenshaw, Professor Crenshaw, who these young girls will get to know as they grow up and read great works. She coined the term intersectionality, and she has a great podcast and that you folks should check out. But she said one of the things is the importance of saying their names, the names of the people who've been killed in police brutality. So one of the things I've been doing is reading the names. Maybe the girls will join me in reading the names. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to show you the cover of Time magazine, which you may have seen this week, is very powerful and very just a very striking image. So I'm going to bring that on. I'm just checking with Mom that this is all okay to do, right, yes, Mom?
It's okay. This is fine.
Okay. So you guys will have to kind of go around the magazine like that so we can see you. There you go. Okay. So this is a very striking cover of the magazine, and very sad to see it. This is by a painting by the great artist Titus Kaffir. and for Time Magazine. And along the edges there, you can see all the names that they've written of victims of police brutality. And also they have, they've got a photo here of that's kind of an inspiration for this painting of young George Floyd. And here you're about to see young George Floyd with his mom.
Yeah. Can I just jump in really quick, Sree, and just say, like, I think when we think about police brutality, we think about the person that was murdered, right?
You can see that, right? You can see how it's connected.
Yeah, but we rarely get to think about how that murder impacted that man or woman's family, how it impacted their mom. We talked about that actually in one of our episodes. Is it safe to go outside? We talked about Ahmaud Arbery, and the girls brought up, hey, like it was just Mother's Day, so I'm pretty sure that his family feels very hurt and devastated. That it's good that the media is continually showing it, right? But also it's just a continual reminder that they have lost someone in their life, and that all of us need to have empathy. We're out here fighting for the people who were murdered or died at the hands of police violence, right? But we also need to make sure that we remember that these people had families and people that love them, and we want to make sure we center ourselves, right? And be careful of what we say, so that we acknowledge, like, we have family too. Like, we're connected to people we love too, and we never want something like that to hurt, for us to feel that hurt.
So here's the judge again, Rosemary Aquilina, the judge who put away Larry Nassar in the USA Olympics. Why don't you folks sit back? We'll get a nice screenshot of this, so you will have a comment from the judge with you folks. I think that's extra beautiful. Yep. Okay, there you go. There's like posing for a photograph. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Nice. And the judge says this next generation isn't just bringing awareness, but are the change makers who bring unity, healing, and understanding. Thank you for raising strong children and teaching them to use their voice. I also love that you recognized your mother and your children recognized you. Amazing, powerful, heartfelt. The judge, who is so, such an influential and important woman herself, she gave those young gymnasts a voice, as you know, Amber. And the judge has spent an hour with us. Isn't that amazing?
That is amazing. We're thankful. Thank you so much for spending time with us this evening. Like, you could be doing anything else. So thank you.
And Sebastian says hi. Hagueda says have a great Sunday. Jessica says love and hugs. And who's that again? Remind us.
Our
grandma. That's awesome. Neil says, well said, Rosemary. Thank you, Neil, I love the work you're all doing. And Emma says, thank you so much, Amber, Garvey, Naima, and Sophia. You are strong and brilliant humans who give me hope for the future and strength for the fight to get there. Amazing. And my dad is watching from Kerala, India, and he says, what a great idea to bring on the next generation. And you all have a meal waiting for you in my mom and dad's house in Kerala, India. If you
yes.
that would be great. You have so many places to choose from, right? Everybody's inviting you guys. And Alexandria says, oh, I love you girls. How are you all even up right now and speaking on these issues? Awesome job. That's right. You guys are very cogent at this time, which is not easy. And Jonathan's reporting from Union Square that demonstrators are heading towards Union Square. Why that's unusual? It's after the curfew. There's a curfew in New York, 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. And
careful. Please be careful. Please take care of yourself. Take care of the people around you. Much respect, but please be careful.
And he says, great show. And I think that's awesome. And I want to just tell everybody about a new Twitter user who is one of our former guests, and she has a wonderful voice. So we want everybody to follow her on Twitter. She's new to Twitter. She's just done a few tweets, and that's Sapphire, the author and poet. She wrote the book Push that became the Oscar-winning movie Precious. And she also wrote The Kid and Black Wings and Blind Angels. So everyone should follow her. She's Miss Saf, MSSAPPH.
Yes.
Ms. Saf. So everybody please follow her on Twitter. You can be among the first 50 people to follow her. So please go and follow her. Ms. Saf is her Twitter handle. And she was here. I'll just show you a couple of her tweets right now. The obscene tragedy of the COVID-19 mismanagement and the murder of George Floyd, which have climaxed in this beautiful moment of resistance, have been for me a lifetime in coming, she says. And she also tweeted, like a poem, earlier this week outside my window where I watch in medical lockdown. And she's an amazing poet. And Amber, you will be surprised to learn, maybe like I was, that it's the 35th anniversary of that book already coming out. So it's been a really long time that book has had so much influence all over the world. And Jonathan says, curfew, what curfew? And Manisha says, great show, thank you. Beautiful and awesome show. Thank you so much. Watching from India. Girls, you understand that you've had this impact around the world. People are watching you and saying great things. And Jennifer says, thank you, Naima, Sophia, Garvey, and Amber, and Sree. Grateful for this conversation tonight. So before we go, we're going to read those names as we've been told that we should do. So I'm going to just bring the names on screen. This is much bigger than I know you thought you were going to have to read it off the edges.
Okay.
So again, we're just going to pay our respects to the men and women who have been killed in police brutality by reading their names out of the Time magazine story. And of course, this is not everyone, and we need to remember that as well. So here we go. Girls, do you want to start? Amber, you tap on them, and then you decide who's going to read. They can't read all of, you can spread them out. So if one person reads a few, and then the next one, and the next one. Okay, you go ahead.
Trayvon Martin, Yvette Smith, Eric Garner, Michael Brown, Laquan McDonald, Tanisha Anderson, Akai Gurley, Tamir Rice, Jermaine Rye, Natasha McKenna, Eric Harris, Walter Scott,
Freddie Gray, William Chapman, Sandra Bland, Darius Stewart, Samuel DeVos, Janet Wilson, Kaylin Rockmore,
Alton Steelen, Philando Castile, Joseph Mann, Terrence Correction, Chad Robertson, Jordan Edwards, Aaron Bailey, Stefan Clark, Danny Ray, Thomas Antwoord Rose, Batham Jean,
Tatiana Jefferson, Michael Dean, Ahmad Arby,
Breonna Taylor, and George Floyd.
We hold all these people in the light.
Yes, we do, and we Emmett Till,
Emmett Till, and
Diallo, so many more.
And backwards all the way to 1619 when people like us got here.
Yeah, and I got goosebumps hearing the girls read those names, and we have to say the names, and we have to learn the names. And as they grow up, those names will be something that's more familiar to them as they grow up. And this is that moment, when you're watching these demonstrations. It's not just African American people who are upset. It is everyone is upset, and it's beautiful. Though I have to say, I didn't show comments, but there were some trolls watching as well.
There always are. There always are. But
how do they have time for this? That's what I don't understand.
Join us in love rather than in opposition.
Yeah.
Rather than
Jocelyn says, love Amber and her beautiful girls. Kathy says, an amazing night. Ajia says, awesome talk and so very necessary. Great show on this important subject. These are very confusing times for children and many young adults, and that is absolutely true. Before you go, I want people to know about our archives where we have 87 shows like this, not as good as this because of these guests, but pretty close. And I'll just show you a couple of them that you can find. You go to youtube.com/SreeNet so you can watch and see the archives and give us feedback. We'd love to hear from you. But here are some of the shows we've done in recent days. Just yesterday, we did this amazing conversation with Shamari Wills, a former student of mine. He wrote a book about the first 6 African Americans who escaped slavery and became millionaires. And the girls may like to read that book one day. And show was great. And that episode is just in yesterday's archives. We also did a show on how to be an ally, how South Asians and others can support Black Lives Matter and the fight for racial equality. And we had on the show Rahul Dubey, who was a Washington, D.C. gentleman who saw the police hunting for protesters and sheltered 70 of them overnight in his apartment. And then we also had a conversation I will never forget with three incredible African-American leaders and thought leaders. We had Sunny Slaughter and Keisha Center and Adam Serwer, who wrote two of the most important articles of the Trump presidency. The first is about the first 3 years of the Trump presidency. You know how we say that, wow, this seems so cruel, like the kids in cages or cutting out food stamps. His article in the Atlantic, the title was "The Cruelty is the Point." So if anyone's ever surprised, that is the point, that it wasn't an accident, the cruelty wasn't an accident. And then I think the most important article about the pandemic, at least the health pandemic, is an article in which he says that President Trump cared about coronavirus until he found out who was dying. And we know who was dying: Black people, people of color, poor people, immigrants, old people. Once it was those folks, the marginalized, he decided that it's not open. Let's open up everything. It doesn't matter. So let's open up the country. And that's what he's fought for. And it's just so tragic. But thanks to our opportunities to hear and talk about these issues, we've all learned so much. I know I've learned so much from all four of you, and I'm so grateful. And we have an ice cream plan, right? To come up.
Yes. Ice cream and the Statue of Liberty. Ice cream plus the Statue of Liberty.
Okay, ice cream at the Statue of Liberty, right?
That's
Very top.
Very top. We're gonna go to the very top and have at the top of the Statue of Liberty. We're gonna look at a few more comments, and then we're really gonna let you go. Neil says, if the trolls come out, you're doing something right. Gail says, excellent conversation. Thank you for sharing. Jessica says, thank you for sharing. There's a journey for all of us. Join us in love and hopefully also in speaking up to colleagues, to friends, to the world. Here's a link to the archive. Thank you, Vandana. Everybody, please subscribe, youtube.com/Sreenet, and also subscribe to their show, which is the Let's K-12 Better podcast. It's available everywhere. And Nicole says, thanks for this awesome discussion. And I'm so grateful to all of them. So let's say goodbye by identifying everybody one more time. Naima, say goodbye. Anything you want us to know?
Goodbye, and thank you for tuning in for us.
Okay, Sophia, what would you like to say?
Goodbye, and thank you for watching this show.
Thank you. And Garvi?
Goodbye and be safe.
Nice. And Amber?
You guys have a great evening. Thank you so much for being with us today. Again, my DMs are always open. So if you're looking for resources, or if you have questions, or you're wondering how to find or be a stronger ally, I can always point you in the right direction. If I don't know, I will find someone else who does. This is hard work. One conversation with your kid or with a coworker or a friend is not going to get it done. This is a journey of many conversations. And patience and love and empathy, right, and questioning.
Wow, you guys really have got it down. And Nicole's photo says, all lives can't matter until Black Lives Matter. And that's a great note on which to end. We wish everybody who's watching peace and
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. I'm going to say goodbye because I've got some things to say to the audience, but we're going to let you folks go. And what's Sunday's plan for all of you?
We're going to go to virtual church. Sree, I'm going to catch your show in the morning though, so I'll be up. So I'm like, I'll see you tomorrow. But yeah, we'll be at church meditating and showing gratitude and just trying to center ourselves for the week.
And being
Thank you. We appreciate that very much. And we are so grateful to all of you for being here and watching with us. So we'll say goodbye while I talk to the audience. Thanks very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Weren't they awesome? I learned so much. I know you did too. And thank you for watching. I will be reintroducing the guest because what happens is that you may have joined us late. And so we want to get started. We want to remind you of what's about to happen. So we're just going to show you here is our episode was Talking to Kids About Race with Amber Coleman-Mortley at Mom of All Capes and her 3 daughters. I just promoted her. I just added another one. She doesn't want another one in the mix. So 3 daughters were with us. And please listen to her Let's K-12 Better podcast. And you can subscribe. And we're so grateful to all of you for being here. Reminder, tomorrow at 8:30 a.m., we read the New York Times like we do every Sunday, 8:30 to 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time with Anya Schifrin, author and former journalist. Holly Lofton, Dr. Holly Lofton will be with us. And I will be here to read the New York Times with all of you at 8:30 a.m. Eastern here on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Please connect with me on all these channels. And if you haven't seen our archives, they're right there on the screen, youtube.com/SreeNet. And I'm going to show you another fun way in which you can connect with us in just a minute. We do want to thank our sponsors because without sponsors, we wouldn't be able to be here with you. So we want to thank Muckrack Academy for the Fundamentals of Social Media course. It starts in 2 weeks, a free certification course. Those young ladies could join us and take that course with us. Free certification course, mrac.co/social, mrac.co/social. Please sign up. Next week, we have a fun live conversation to help you get ready for the free certification course, mrac.co/social. Take a photo, take a screenshot, share it with everyone you know. And we're grateful to Muckrack for allowing me to do this course free for the world. 3,500 people have signed up. And all of you can as well, mrac.co/social. I'm looking for speaker ideas, guest ideas, theme ideas, and we're looking for sponsors. So please email me, Sree@Sree.net. You can see right on your screen, right there. Please join me and let me know how we can be of help to you. We want to use this platform to give people a voice. So if you are watching and you know somebody who's doing something great, let's put them on a show like this and get it out there. My big thanks to Scroll.in, one of India's leading news and culture websites, for giving us the simulcast to their millions of followers. And we are so grateful for that as well. And finally, our other sponsor, we want to thank Art & Co. Get involved with the world's largest online art auction, fundraising for COVID-19 victims. 31 independent artists and 6 awesome charities will benefit from your support. Even if you can't afford or look at art like this, you're not interested, but you know someone who's got the money to help an online art auction, artandco.net. So please take a look and please support them. Let's take a look at some comments that have come in. Last few comments coming in. Jonathan's reporting that 5 police cars are headed towards Union Square. Neil says, 8:30 a.m. for the read-along. See you there. And Mahesh says, hi from New York. Great to have you here, Mahesh. I'm sorry I missed this. So important. You haven't missed this. As soon as I go off the air, it'll replay in Facebook, in Twitter, in YouTube, and on LinkedIn. But of course, we want you to subscribe to our LinkedIn channel. And Fernando says, greetings from LA. And thank you, Fernando, for watching. Thank you for supporting us. Email me. I want to talk to you about a future show as well. And with that, I'm going to say goodbye to everybody. I learned so much and I'm feeling so uplifted from the show we just did. Those women were amazing. And thank you to Amber and her girls. So with that, we'll say goodbye. Thanks very much, everyone. Please connect. Please send me feedback. All good wishes. Bye-bye.